All right, so get this. We're diving into some news today that honestly sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, but it's actually happening, like right now. The world's first commercial fusion power plant. It's in the works,
Wow.
and they're going to build it in Chesterfield County, Virginia.
Really?
Yeah. So we're going to unpack excerpts from an article called World's First Fusion Power Plant. We're going to try to understand what this could mean, not just for Virginia,
Yeah.
but for potentially the entire world's energy landscape. So, I mean, for decades, fusion power has kind of felt like this elusive dream, always just out of reach, you know?
Yeah, it was like 20 years away or something like that.
Right, exactly. But this announcement really brings that dream, I think, a lot closer to reality. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, what's remarkable here is that it feels like we're finally turning a corner, like from theory to actual practical application.
Yeah. So let's get into the details, the key details of this project. The article mentions a plant called ARC, right?
Yeah, ARC.
Can you tell us about that?
So ARC, it's planned for the James River Industrial Park,
Okay.
and it's expected to generate, get this, up to 400 megawatts of electricity.
400 megawatts?
Think about that.
Yeah.
That's enough to power something like 150,000 homes.
Wow.
And all without producing any carbon emissions.
See, now that's what I'm talking about.
And they're aiming to have it delivering power to the grid by the early 2030s.
The early 2030s, that's not that far off.
No, not at all.
So this makes me wonder, who's the driving force behind this really ambitious project? Is it like a government thing?
Well, that's actually one of the most fascinating parts of this story.
Yeah.
It's not a government initiative.
Huh?
The plant will be built, owned, and operated by a private company, Commonwealth Fusion Systems, or CFS.
Private company. Wow.
Yeah, they have some, non-financial support from Dominion Energy Virginia.
Okay.
But this is primarily a private sector endeavor, and that could really, really impact the pace of development.
I was going to say, because it makes you wonder, could a private company like CFS be more agile, more innovative compared to if it was, a government-led project?
I mean, that's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And I think, private companies, they often have this advantage. They can make decisions faster.
Right.
They can adapt to new discoveries, to challenges more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bound by the same bureaucratic processes.
Oh, red tape.
Exactly. They can sometimes slow down these big government projects.
Yeah.
And so this could really potentially accelerate the timeline for making fusion power a reality.
Okay, so we've got this private company, CFS, charging ahead with this fusion power plant. And the article mentions that it's based on technology that they developed for a prototype, which is called Spark.
Yes.
And it's under construction right now in Massachusetts. What can you tell us about Spark? Like, what's its role in all of this?
So Spark, think of it as like a smaller scale fusion reactor,
Yeah.
a test bed, if you will. And it's designed to prove one really critical concept, something called net fusion energy.
Net fusion energy.
You might see it written as Q greater than 1. And what this means is that the energy produced by the fusion reaction
Okay.
is greater than the energy that's used to create it.
Oh, okay.
It's crucial. It's a crucial milestone. It's kind of like breaking the sound barrier, if you will, in fusion research.
Okay.
And they are aiming to demonstrate this net energy by 2027.
So Spark is like the proving ground.
Yes.
To make sure this revolutionary technology actually works. And then if it's successful, ARC will take those lessons, scale them up to a full-fledged power plant.
That's the plan.
Eh.
And they've already made some pretty remarkable achievements with Spark. For instance, in 2021, they successfully tested a 20 Tesla high-temperature superconducting magnet.
Okay.
Now, that might sound like a lot of technical jargon, but it is a huge
I
breakthrough.
was going to say the science behind this is pretty complex. So break it down for us. Why is this magnet test so significant? What does it mean for the viability of fusion power?
So imagine, trying to contain something that's hotter than the core of the sun.
Oh.
That's essentially what they're doing with these fusion reactions.
Right.
And this 20 Tesla magnet, it's a game changer because it allows them to create these incredibly powerful magnetic fields, but in a relatively compact device.
Okay.
And these magnetic fields, they're absolutely crucial. They are what contain the superheated plasma, which is a state of matter where electrons are stripped from atoms
Yeah.
within the reactor.
So it's like they've invented this much stronger container to hold this incredibly powerful reaction.
Precisely.
And that makes the whole process more efficient and potentially less expensive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It opens up the possibility of making fusion reactors smaller, more efficient, potentially more affordable,
Yeah.
which is really crucial for widespread adoption. And this is one of the reasons that there's so much excitement surrounding CFS and their approach to fusion power.
This is where it gets really interesting to me, because it's not just about the technology itself, right? But it's also about the potential ripple effects. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about the impact closer to home. What does this fusion power plant mean for Virginia?
Well, for Virginia, this is potentially an economic game changer.
Okay.
I mean, building and operating a facility like this, it's going to create hundreds of high-skilled jobs in fields like engineering, research, technical operations.
Right.
And that's really just the tip of the iceberg.
You're talking about the potential for like a whole ecosystem of businesses, industries
Exactly.
could spring up around this fusion power plant.
Precisely. We could see billions of dollars in economic growth, not just from the plant itself, but from all of the supporting industries, the supply chains, the research and development spin-offs.
Wow.
This could boost local businesses. It could increase tax revenue. It could lead to infrastructure improvements. I mean, the list goes on and on. It really has the potential to transform Chesterfield County and put Virginia on the map as a hub for clean energy innovation.
All of this from a single power plant. It's almost hard to grasp like the scale of the potential impact. But let's zoom out even further. We've talked about the local economic benefits. But what about the bigger picture? This isn't just about Virginia. This is about potentially solving the global energy crisis, right?
That's the ultimate goal. And it's what makes this technology so compelling. I mean, imagine a world that's powered by clean, safe, virtually limitless fusion energy.
It's almost too good to be true.
It's a game changer. It could drastically reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, lead to a cleaner planet, a more sustainable future.
Yeah. It feels like we're on the verge of this massive shift in how we think about and produce energy. But before we get too carried away, let's dive a little bit deeper into the science behind fusion power itself. How does it actually work? What are the challenges, the opportunities?
Let's unpack that. So fusion, it is a complex process.
Yeah.
But at its core, it involves harnessing the power of the same reaction that fuels the sun.
Okay.
It's about replicating here on Earth the conditions at the sun's core, where these immense temperatures and pressures force atomic nuclei to fuse together, releasing these tremendous amounts of energy.
So we're talking about creating a miniature sun here on Earth.
In a sense, yes.
That sounds both incredibly exciting and a little bit daunting.
It is both. It's a monumental scientific and engineering challenge. I mean, for decades, scientists have been working to overcome the technical hurdles of achieving these extreme conditions and then capturing that energy efficiently. But the potential rewards are so significant the pursuit continues.
All right. So we've covered a lot of ground already. We've got this private company, CFS, pushing the boundaries of fusion technology with their Spark prototype, their ambitious plans for the ARC power plant in Virginia. It's a story full of potential, from local economic benefits to a cleaner, more sustainable energy future for the world. But we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore.
It's fascinating, isn't it? To think that we might be on the cusp of harnessing the same power source that drives the stars. But how do we actually, do that here on Earth?
Right. What does this fusion process, what does it actually look like?
Okay, so at its core, fusion involves forcing two light atomic nuclei, typically isotopes of hydrogen called deuterium and tritium, to fuse together. Now, these nuclei, they naturally repel each other.
Right.
So you need immense temperatures and pressures to overcome that repulsion and get them close enough to actually fuse.
So it's kind of like trying to smash two magnets together with the same poles facing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of force to get them to connect.
Yeah.
And the way we achieve these really extreme conditions here on Earth is through devices called tokamaks.
Okay.
Both Spark and ARC, these are examples of tokamaks.
You mentioned tokamaks earlier, but I gotta admit, I'm still a bit fuzzy on what they are and how they work.
Okay.
Can you give us a quick, ELI 5 on tokamaks?
Sure. Imagine a giant donut-shaped chamber. That's basically what a tokamak is.
Okay.
Inside this chamber, we create a superheated gas called plasma, where the electrons are stripped from the atoms. Then, using incredibly powerful magnets, we confine and control this plasma, heating it to temperatures hotter than the core of the sun.
Wow, containing something hotter than the sun. That sounds pretty intense. And this is where that 20 Tesla magnet we talked about earlier comes into play.
Exactly. That magnet is crucial because it allows CFS to generate much stronger magnetic fields, but in a smaller, more compact tokamak. Remember, those magnetic fields, that's what keep the superheated plasma contained, prevent it from touching the walls of the reactor.
Okay, so the magnet's like an invisible force field holding this miniature sun in place.
You got it. And that's why this breakthrough has generated so much excitement in the scientific community. It's a major step towards making fusion power more practical, commercially viable. But it's important to remember that there are still challenges.
You're right, there's always a balance between the potential and the hurdles. What are some of the other obstacles that researchers are still working to address with fusion power?
Well, one of the big ones is achieving a sustained fusion reaction.
Okay.
While we've been able to create fusion reactions in the lab, maintaining those reactions for extended periods, that's still a challenge.
Oh, okay.
It's like trying to keep a fire burning consistently.
Yeah.
But with conditions that are far more extreme than any campfire.
Okay, so it's not enough to just, like, spark the reaction. You have to keep it going long enough to generate a usable amount of energy.
Exactly.
Okay. Why is fusion power seen as such a promising solution to our energy needs? What are the advantages compared to other sources of energy?
There are several key reasons why fusion is so appealing. First and foremost, it's a clean energy source.
Okay.
Fusion reactions, they don't produce greenhouse gases, making it a carbon-free way to generate electricity. That's a huge advantage in the fight against climate change.
So it's clean, but is it really a viable alternative to our current energy sources? I mean, is it truly limitless, as some people claim?
Well, it's not truly limitless, but the fuel for fusion is incredibly abundant. We're talking about deuterium, which is found in seawater,
Okay.
and tritium, which can be produced from lithium, compared to fossil fuels, which are finite and contribute to climate change.
Right.
These are essentially inexhaustible resources.
Okay. That's amazing. But what about safety? I mean, we're essentially creating miniature suns here. Isn't that inherently dangerous?
That's a valid concern, but fusion is actually considered inherently safer than many other forms of energy production. Unlike nuclear fission, which involves splitting atoms and generates radioactive waste,
Right.
fusion doesn't carry the same risks. There's no chance of a meltdown like you might have in a fission reactor.
Okay.
And the fusion reaction, it stops instantly if the conditions aren't perfectly maintained.
So it's clean, abundant, and relatively safe. That's a pretty compelling combination.
It is.
But if fusion has all these advantages, why hasn't it been developed sooner? What has taken so long to get to this point?
It's really a testament to the complexity of this technology.
Yeah.
Achieving those extreme temperatures and pressures required for fusion, and then harnessing that energy efficiently,
Right.
that has been a monumental scientific and engineering challenge.
Yeah.
For decades, researchers have been working to overcome those hurdles.
Right.
And the recent progress we're seeing with projects like Spark and ARC suggests that we're getting closer.
Okay. I'm starting to understand why this announcement about the world's first commercial fusion power plant is such a big deal. But it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the potential impact it could have on the world. You mentioned earlier this could be as transformative as the advent of electricity.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways fusion power could reshape our lives and society?
Well, imagine a world where energy is not only abundant,
Right.
but also clean and affordable.
Yeah.
Fusion could dramatically change how we power our homes, businesses, transportation systems. Think about electric cars that can travel much farther on a single charge because they're powered by fusion-generated electricity.
No more range anxiety.
Right.
That's definitely appealing. What about other areas beyond transportation? How else could fusion impact our lives?
The possibilities are vast. Fusion could revolutionize industries, like manufacturing, by providing clean and efficient energy for production processes. We could see a resurgence in domestic manufacturing as energy costs decrease. It could even play a role in addressing the growing need for clean water by powering desalination plants more efficiently.
Wow. We're talking about a cleaner environment, a more sustainable economy, and potentially even solving some of the world's most pressing problems. It's almost hard to comprehend the scale of the impact.
It is. And while there's still work to be done to make fusion power a reality on a commercial scale, the progress we're seeing is incredibly encouraging. It's a reminder that sometimes those seemingly impossible dreams can actually come true.
This whole deep dive has been a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
From, initial curiosity to a sense of awe at the science involved, and now I have this growing sense of optimism about the potential future that fusion power could unlock.
I agree.
But I think it's important to acknowledge that there are still challenges ahead.
Absolutely. While this announcement from CFS is incredibly promising,
Yeah?
it's important to remember that they still need to prove that Spark can achieve net energy
Right.
and then successfully scale up that technology to a commercial power plant.
Yeah.
There are still hurdles to overcome.
Right. We need to temper our excitement with a healthy dose of realism.
Right.
But even if it takes a bit longer than anticipated, the potential rewards are just too great to ignore.
Yeah.
This could truly be a turning point for humanity.
I agree. This is a story worth following closely. The next decade could be incredibly exciting for the world of energy.
So we've explored the intricate science behind fusion, delved into the potential benefits, the remaining challenges, imagined a future where clean, abundant energy is a reality. But let's bring it back to you, the listener. What does all of this mean for your everyday life? How could fusion power transform the world as you know it? We've been on quite the journey, haven't we, with this deep dive?
We have.
From the initial news of this world's first commercial fusion power plant to the intricate science behind fusion.
Right.
And its potential to, just reshape the world.
Absolutely.
But let's get down to brass tacks. What could this actually look like for you, the listener, in your everyday life?
Well, it's tough to predict the exact timeline for these changes.
Sure.
But if fusion power really does deliver on its promise, we could see some pretty dramatic shifts, even within our lifetime.
So paint me a picture. What kind of changes are we talking about?
Think about, your monthly bills.
Yeah.
Imagine if your electricity bill was significantly lower because energy's cheaper, it's more readily available.
Right.
Or, consider electric cars that can travel much farther on a single charge, thanks to that fusion-generated electricity.
Yeah, no more range anxiety.
Right, yeah.
That would be a game changer. What about beyond, personal convenience, though? How could fusion impact, the broader economy, the environment?
It's not just about individual benefits.
Right.
Fusion power could also lead to cleaner manufacturing processes,
Okay.
reducing industrial pollution, and making the products that we use every day more sustainable. And it could even help us tackle that growing demand for clean water
Okay.
by powering desalination plants more efficiently.
So we're potentially talking about, a cleaner environment, a more sustainable economy,
Yeah.
and even solutions to some of the world's, most pressing challenges.
Yeah.
It's almost overwhelming to think about the scale of the impact.
It is. And while there's still work to be done to really make fusion power a reality on a commercial scale, the progress that we're seeing is incredibly encouraging. It's a powerful reminder that even, seemingly impossible dreams can be realized with enough ingenuity and perseverance.
I'm feeling definitely a surge of optimism after learning about all of this. This entire deep dive has been such a whirlwind of information.
It has.
From, initial skepticism to a deeper understanding of the science, and now a genuine sense of excitement about the possibilities that fusion power could unlock.
I share your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It's a story that has the potential to, rewrite the future of energy.
Reshape the world.
Reshape the world as we know it.
And that's what makes this such a fascinating topic to explore. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you, the listener, with one final thought to ponder. What other industries or aspects of life could be revolutionized by this abundant, clean fusion energy?
Right.
What other seemingly impossible dreams could we achieve if this technology fulfills its promise? It's an open question, and one that invites us to, dream big and imagine a future filled with possibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perhaps in a few years we'll revisit this topic and see how the fusion landscape has evolved, what new breakthroughs have emerged.
Until then, keep that spirit of curiosity alive and never stop exploring the frontiers of knowledge. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of energy.